Hi, and welcome to our how-to video on the Gantt chart. My name is Janaya, and I am a customer service representative with Paprika Mission Control. In Mission Control, the Gantt chart allows users to visualize and manage their project, specifically the work breakdown structure in a chart and grid view. It gives full insight into when phases, milestones, actions, and checklist items are expected to be delivered. This includes the ability to drag and drop records where you can reschedule them left and right, or manually inline edit each individual record. You're also able to establish dependency relationships between tasks and records. This feature allows you to visualize critical path, which shows the path within the project that has the least amount of slack. You're able to view baseline dates, which shows the original start and end dates of each individual actions. This allows you to create and edit child records under the project on the Gantt. Furthermore, you can log time on individual actions as well. And last but not least, you can import projects to your org using the standalone Gantt chart, and you can export your project via the several buttons provided on the feature page, which allows you to export the project as a file. As we dive deeper into this feature, we're able to access the Gantt chart in a variety of places. One, you can access it from the management pad. If you select the Gantt chart tile, you can look at your project lookup field and select the project that you want to see. That way it pulls you into that project view and you can just start working on the Gantt chart from here. Two, you can access it from the app launcher if you wanted to type Gantt chart from this 9-dot app launcher here. And you can type Gantt chart from here. This is just showing the classic and the lightning versions. If you select them, you'll be able to see at the top of the URL, this one says classic, whereas the other one says lightning. So that's why there's two Gantt charts there technically. You can access, thirdly, you can access the Gantt chart via the project overview page, and this is the place that most folks use it from, or where folks would like to use it from the standalone Gantt chart, which is on the navigation bar, which is similar to this Gantt chart from the app launcher, right? So if you wanted to go to your app launcher and you selected Gantt chart, which pulls you to this tab here, this standalone Gantt chart on the navigation bar gives you the ability to filter down the project. So this is slightly different, where it gives you the ability to view multiple projects, let's say, or filter down the project, and maybe you just want to see certain things from this project. Then this is what it will give you that ability to do. The standalone Gantt chart also allows you to import project files into your Gantt chart, into your org. You won't be able to import projects through your overview page. It won't give you the import option. It only lets you export. So if you wanted to import, the best way to import would be to go to the standalone Gantt chart, which shows the filter icon and shows these import options up here. So import here, import JSON file, and then import Excel file and the MS file. Let's see, the fourth way you can reach to get into the Gantt chart is by selecting this icon, which is only available on the overview tab, right? The project overview tab, the Gantt chart, and this icon is only available here where it says view standalone Gantt chart. So if you wanted to just view this project's Gantt chart instead of this view, and you just wanted to view it from maybe a larger view like this, then you can click on this that opens it up a little bit further. Fifth, now if you wanted to, you could create another tab through Lightning App Builder, and let's say you wanted to create the Gantt chart up here. You could create, you have an overview tab, a related tab, maybe you have a Gantt chart tab and you just wanted to expand that view, and you wanted to add that Gantt chart component to that page, similar to these pages here, then you can do so as well. Typically on the detailed page out of the box, you might see that the Gantt chart is available sometimes on here. I like to just remove it just because I already have it available up here, but sometimes you could see the Gantt chart from the detailed page as well. Last but not least, you can access the Gantt chart from the portfolio or from the program. So let's say if we have a program tied to this project, or maybe let's just go to any of our programs or portfolios. And then similar to if you wanted to find program or portfolio, you can type that in here, but you'll be able to see the Gantt chart as well if you select on that, that new, tab that we have available here. As we review this feature, we'll briefly review the components of the Gantt from top to bottom. This how-to video will quickly summarize the Gantt chart, so if you want to learn more about the Gantt chart in depth, then you will have to watch our Cosmo Campfires about the Gantt chart and constraint scheduling to see these features and how to enable certain field sets or custom columns or custom fields within that video. As we take a look at our Gantt chart in our overview, we'll be able to see that there are icons on our left-hand side, and on our right-hand side, we'll see our Save button with the warning icon that comes up if we edit anything on the Gantt chart, along with any of our import and export options with the blue buttons available here. We also see our grid regarding our project work breakdown structure from top to bottom, the purple being the project, the amber and orange being our phase, blue being our milestone, and red being our actions. We can also see those little arrows on the side where we can expand and open our checklist items underneath our actions. On the right-hand column, we'll be able to see the chart itself. Right now, I have it zoomed out on a 4-month view, but if I wanted to zoom back in, then I can continue to zoom it in to see the individual days that we'll be working on these actions. Taking a look at these icons, we'll see that we can hide our grid, and we can also hide our chart. If you hover over the icon, it'll show you that we can show and hide the chart from clicking these two icons. We can also edit and customize our Gantt chart settings so that we can view and see the data in particular ways, and we can edit or disable certain features by having our users to be able to edit and customize their Gantt chart. We'll review this in just a moment as well. You can also magnify to zoom in or zoom out of the Gantt chart. So I've showed that already, but you can zoom in to see the whole view, or you can zoom out. If you want a particular view, let's say you want to have a screen, the PNG export of the Gantt chart, and this PNG export is also taking a snapshot of this Gantt chart, of this chart view, and sending it to your project status reports on the project itself, the details page. And this is the image that it takes. So you can zoom in and out to do so regarding that PNG export and these other features as well. Looking at the baseline toggle dates, the baseline dates are referring to the original dates in which these items were originally set for. So these actions were originally set for these dates that were given here. If we zoom in, we can see what those dates will actually look like if we want to see those actual numbers. And then we can see that this action has been pushed out a few days, and so we know that we are running behind schedule slightly for these actions, and if I need to move the date forward to match up with it, you can do so as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that and refresh that so that my columns are going to readjust themselves. And then that just helps so that when you hide the views, then that way the columns can expand just a little bit more or less. So if we refresh, we'll go back to this page and we are on our icons. You can expand or collapse. So if you hover over it, you'll see it's the collapse all. And our expand all buttons. And that way, if you wanted to just see just the project itself or the phases or milestones, so you can see only those items. Otherwise, you can open it all up to the max of the whole project work breakdown structure and see everything in your project. And you can also see our auto scheduling feature, which is a lightning icon. Right now it is green, but if you turn it off, that means it's red. So if it's red, it means that it has been disabled. So what this feature does is that it allows you to, if you have dependencies in your projects, you can move the parent and child actions forward or backwards. And because it's turned off, then these items are always going to stay, these records before and afterwards, the parent and the child will stay standing the same because it's frozen. It freezes those records, right? Those dates. The moment that you want to snap those items in line and back in place is when you can turn the auto scheduling feature back on. So you can turn it back on in green, and we know that we've already moved these items backwards or forwards, but let's say I want to now turn it on and I want to snap it back in place, then I can move this item back forward and backwards to support that. And in this place, in this scenario, I know that I can have my parent move forward or backwards to support that. Right now, we know that our lead and lag has been created, and that's why you see those numbers for in 7 days. If you move them and adjust them, then those dates will. That's why the auto scheduling doesn't go completely back, because it thinks that there are lead and lag on this project now. If you reset the back to 0, then it's always going to move accordingly. So if I move my dates out, then the child records will move and follow along. So if we save that, we have our Perform Auto Schedule feature, which is this little wand image icon. And this is typically for large projects. So if you have a large project and you have just cloned it, or you have imported it maybe from a sandbox or something, then you can use this button to readjust those dependency dates. And if there's lead and lag on these dependencies to push it out, then you can click on this Perform Auto Scheduling, and it's going to readjust those dates to match what it was originally set for. So if this dependency said that it had a lead or lag of 7 days, then that Perform Auto schedule will push out those dates as the dependency requires it to. We also see our go to today's date. So right now we are obviously viewing the project from a zoomed out view, but right now I have my setting icon set to the project start date. So because typically I like to see it from the very start of the project, but if you wanted to see if you wanted to see the chart from today's date, you can click on that button, it'll turn green, and it'll move you to today's date, or where are we at with this project. If you want to turn that off, then it'll default back to the start of the project. We also have already reviewed our view standalone Gantt chart, so that's the icon for that, from the overview to the standalone. From here, you also see our save button and our import and export options. As we discussed, so the import options are available on the standalone Gantt chart at the top only. So that Gantt chart from up here is where you can see the import options. And that is typically where you see the filter icon, and the import options where you see import MS file, import JSON file, and import Excel file. You won't see those import options on the overview Gantt chart, which is this portion. You'll only be able to see the export option on this, even though it says import export, because it's on the overview of the project itself. It's not going to allow you to import another project within a project. It won't work that way. You can also export your PDF file, CBS file, and PNG files through these buttons as well. When we take a look at our grid side, we'll be able to view our work breakdown structure and the numeric values that support that from the child objects below. Your record name, owner, status, start and end dates, and the predecessor, which is the dependency records. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit as we explain this and go a little bit more in depth. We see our projects, our action owners, our statuses, and we can inline edit. That way I can just edit quickly from here and then click save. You can also adjust those dates and update these to different users for the fields itself, or adjust the names. of the records. Right now, let's say I want to start this action for the 25th, then I can do so as well. Then you could also manually enter in the predecessor. So let's say I know that I want my design to start right after the admin. Then I know that I can type it in 1.1.1.1, or I can drag and drop on the chart side and hover over the field where there's this little circle icon, click on it and drag and drop that dependency relationship right there onto the beginning. And this is creating a finish to start. So that admin has to finish first in order for the design action to begin. And so because we have auto scheduling enabled, it's going to start that finish to start relationship. And it's going to snap that forward so that we can make sure this project is going to snap forwards, and it's going to finish this admin is going to finish first in order for the design phase or the design task to start. Let's say I wanted to type that in myself. So if you wanted to type in that, you want to type in the 1.1.1.1 and it's a finish to start relationship, then that one will be created for you. However, let's say you want a start to start relationship, then that's going to show you that this start to start relationship, the admin and the design both have to start at the same time. So that's what that dependency is referring to. Otherwise, if you wanted a finish to finish relationship, then they both have to finish at the same time. So the admin and the design have to finish at the same time. That's the if you're typing that in, or if you're dragging and dropping to do that. You can also delete it from here. Oh, I think I scrolled to the left there. We'll go back to that project and click on our Gantt chart. So that's our predecessor column. You'll also be able to see our edit icons. So we're editing the records themselves with the pencil icon. If you're pulling and you want to click into the milestone itself or the action records, then you can open it and it'll open up in a new tab regarding that action. If you want to create new records underneath the action or the milestone. So if you're on the milestone, you want to make sure that when you click on this plus sign, it's creating child records under the milestone. And it'll show that with a new action here. And these are just the pages, the module pages, the modal pages for you to edit out of the box with this action. If there are certain fields that, maybe you create the action and you know that there's other fields that I need to also update, but it's not on that page, then you can customize that page through the object field sets. If you go to each individual object and you go to the field sets and click on Project Gantt Edit Modal, that allows you to edit that modal pop-up page. You can also look at the hover tool tips. This is just allowing you to edit the hover tips when you hover over the records like this. So that is allowing you to create those records. And then if you also want to double click the record itself, this is the modal page. We have our log time component icon is only on the action because you can only log time to the actions. You'll be able to see that on the checklist items too, and refer to which checklist you want to log time to within the action as well. On this record detail tab, this is pulling all the fields from your action page layout. So these are all the page, out of the box, all of the specific fields that you've added to your page layout, and that's where you can edit this as well. If you see the pencil icon over here, then you can go ahead and manually edit those fields. Obviously, there's going to be some roll-up fields and system fields that you can't edit, but the majority of them you can. Just be aware that when you're editing on this pencil icon, it's going to update automatically. So once you make those edits and changes, you can scroll down to the bottom and then save. Once you've done that, you don't have to save again. That doesn't require you to use the save, just because that pencil icon tells you right away once you click on it that this Gantt will be refreshed automatically to reflect any saved changes. Now we also see our little person icon here. This is just showing you that there's contributors to this action. So I know that right now Jimin is a contributor to my action. And if I wanted to see that a little bit more, I can go into the modal page and hover over the icon to see that Gman has 5 hours scheduled, where I have 10 hours scheduled. If you go to the hours scheduled field, you'll see that there's 15 hours scheduled for this admin action. And if you click into the resource assignment wizard, you can edit that for Gman or yourself, or maybe you want to add another contributor, and you could find those contributors here and add them from here as well. So that is our grid. On the chart side, we see that a couple of enhancements have been made where we, the UI, the bars itself for the records are rounded. We also see that the phase is now, we can also create phases through the mouse, through the project. You can enable phase creation on the settings, and you can select the plus icon, because you can only create phases from the project itself, from the parent, not from, you can't create phases from a phase, and so you have to create it from the record above it. If you can create a milestone or a phase from the project, and you can do so, and go ahead and create them from here. And you want to make sure when you go in your settings that you've enabled phase creation. So once you enable that, then that allows you to create those phases from here as well. Let's see. From here, you can also see that there are progress percentages. This progress percentage is controlled on the Gantt chart settings. This just tells you that you can disable inline editing, you can enable phase creation, or enable auto saving, so you don't have to always save with the warning icon every time. The progress percentage will always be there out of the box as a default, but if you wanted to hide it, you can. You can also hide your completion percentage. Completion percentage is different because it allows you to manually edit that completion. So let's say that you completed your admin task, that you've worked, let's say you've logged 1 hour to this admin. However, in that hour, you were able to complete all the admin tasks from here. And so actually, I know even though I've had 15 hours or however many hours, I can move that completion percentage, even though I've completed half the amount of work, let's say, or only 1 hour of work. I know that I'm actually closer to 95% being done with this task, and I can save that. So that in itself is creating a completion percentage override. When you go into and double click into that action, you can see that there is an override button, and this will be visible, and you can add that field onto the other tab as well. But the completion percentage override is enabled and turned on, marked as true, and so that is telling you that you've manually overridden this completion percentage. The completion percentage is not pulling from the time log anymore, it's pulling from your manual override. And so if you wanted to click the pencil icon and manually edit and turn that off, you can, so that it pulls from the time logs, and it'll do so as well. So anytime you are manually adjusting that little arrow at the bottom, and if you go to, you see those two arrows there, anytime you are manually adjusting that, it is manually marking that checkbox as manually overridden, and the percentage is showing you that along with the progress right there. So I'll just save that for a moment there. As we continue in our Gantt chart settings here, we'll be able to see that we can add custom fields, and that is controlled on the mission control pad for the Gantt chart setting tile. So if we scroll to the Gantt chart settings, you can control up to three custom fields. So if you want to see, let's say, hours scheduled, or action type for your actions, and on the maybe the phases, on the row of the phases or the milestones, maybe you want to see hours scheduled as well for it to roll up, you can select them and click save, and that will enable those custom fields for you. You want to make sure when you're editing that, you want to make sure to scroll down to the end of the tile and click Save Gantt chart settings. Most of these settings we've already run through, or are already included in these settings as well. It's the same thing. The only difference is that the reason why, if you don't see that you have this gear setting icon, is because your system admin has overridden that and disabled this icon for users, so they cannot see this icon because it's controlled on the system page for your entire org. And so you can enable that by clicking this disable enable the settings override. So once you enable the settings override, that icon will be removed, and all the settings here on this tile is going to be consistent for all your users in your entire org. We also have if you want to disable those tooltips or disable team and role holidays, you can do so as well. You can also enable constraint scheduling on the settings itself. So constraint scheduling, you'll see that here and here as well, but you want to enable that here, and then also make sure that those fields have been enabled. So if you're working on enabling constraint scheduling, and this constraint scheduling is just giving you specific dependency constraints on your dependency relationships for your records. So let's say you have your milestone like we have here. So this diamond icon is our diamond milestone name and milestone deadline. This is just telling me that, hey, no matter what, this date on May 9th is where this milestone needs to end. I see that we've gone a little bit over, so let's go back a little bit and make sure that that stays there. That milestone date is just a marker. It's still going to allow you to like move the records over and above it, even though the milestone is the blue, but this is a date that it's letting you know this milestone is ending on this date. Like constraint scheduling is going to help you to make sure that records do not pass this date. So once you have enabled those certain settings, the constraint scheduling, the column for constraints will show you that there's certain settings at certain dates that maybe you don't want. Maybe you don't want this deliver action or this milestone from this milestone to pass a certain date. So no matter what, once you have those constraints enabled, that milestone, those actions and records will not move past those dates, depending on what relationships and what constraints you've enabled for those dependency relationships. So those settings all are replicated in these settings. The major controls for that are obviously on the control pad. So that shows you your progress, your completion percentage, and then just your warning day icons. Your warning day icons are just these triangle fields letting you know that, hey, this action ended in the past already, or it's going to end soon. So just be aware of that. So if you wanted to disable those warning icons, you can as well. The project start date, we went over that already. So we're just going to move that over straight and default that to either the project start date or for the chart or the Gantt itself, or it's going to default to today's date. And so you can update and save that information as well. So those are our Gantt chart settings, and we went over dependencies and relationships. Well, last but not least, I know if you scroll over to the right and left, but this on the grid side, there's a little clock icon. So this is just a log time component. If you wanted to log time right away, as you know you're working on this, maybe you wanted to go ahead and start your timer because you know you're going to be working on this project for design, which is this pan action ID number, then you can do so as well and start and log time from here. So that shows our Gantt chart. If you wanted to create that milestone deadline, let's say we remove that, and let's say we wanted to go ahead and create a new date, let's say, we can double click into our record itself for a milestone, and we can set those fields up. So let's say I want to name this milestone SLA1 deadline because it's regarding this milestone SLA, and I'm going to give a new date of maybe May 15th. Even though I know the May date is going a little bit further probably for this action. I'm going to confirm this, and I'm going to save this. So that action milestone deadline name is given there. If you hover over here, you also see that in the hover tips as well, and you'll be able to move that left and right if you need to, and those dates will change from here as well. Awesome. If we zoom in just a little bit, you'll see that these gray bars are going to appear. This is just showing you that our weekends are weekends are non-working days. You also see this if you have like a gray box or gray row or column, I should say, then that is also referring to those non-working days, because holidays or vacation days, PTO days, are considered non-working days within mission control. That concludes our how-to video on the Gantt chart. Please feel free to reach out through email or support tickets. You can also read through our various different resources available on our website, whether it's our user guide, our training videos, knowledge base articles, or our learning portal. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.